I do not see eye to eye with the subject matter. Like
Okay.
I'm not. I'm the sum total of my own thoughts. Yes, because there are people by whom I do influence. Okay, or you can say that there are many people whom I do see my idols. For by them, I get influenced, right? So there's somehow they are the reasons for my action, for my the way I do behave, the way do I work, the way do I want to see myself in the society. So I cannot say that I am means my own thoughts are quite responsible for my own action. As I was telling her as well, that I'm asking her rather, circumstances, your environment play a very pivotal role in your life. You just take about anyone, you just name it anyone, where you can see that where they do belong to, that particular somehow, like through their language you can understand that they do belong to. Through their actions sometimes you're able to understand where do they belong to. So there are multiple reasons, there are multiple things that play in your life. Somehow, like if we talk about nowadays, social media plays a very pivotal role in your life. The way you suppose your action plays a very pivotal role by the social media. Like you can see the hula value which is going on nowadays. We were not that particular situation. We were not there. We didn't hear anything from right from their mouth. But social media plays a very pivotal role. That simply change our thoughts. That simply change how do we. That changes rather. That changes our thoughts. That changes how do we want to see. How do we want to analyze the particular situation. The many more ways. So and now if somebody talk about thoughts, your own thoughts means your conscious thoughts and subconscious thoughts, both are responsible. Yes, to some extent both are responsible in many ways. Now we talk about that the way you want to work sometimes it's not in your hand. How you want to behave, how you want to behave towards suppose if you talk about a government official, he's been instructed how he has to do in his workplace, but that's not his true nature. But this is not his own thoughts. Suppose I want to work in this way, in that particular fashion, but I have been instructed to work in that particular fashion. So both are different. So you cannot judge. That is not in your thoughts. That is not in your mind that you have to do that particular thing. I have to do this in a way I do not like. Sometimes not liking that particular thing also, I have to do that. So this is why I can say that yes, definitely I am not the sum total of my thoughts.
But as they are paying you a certain amount of money, so that is your motivation. That is why you are obeying that thing. You are
Yes.
bound to do that.
If you go to corporate world or anywhere, any workplace, you can get to see a team leader, who manages a team. How he manages, Sometimes you get to see your productive result is somehow like your result. You want to get that particular work be done by anyhow, okay?
Yeah.
But the approach sometimes changes. Sometimes you get to see just because of your manager, how your manage he himself doesn't want to behave with you like that particular way, but his manager or her managerial team simply forces him to behave to get that work be done by that particular fashion. So you cannot simply say that yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what I wanted to say, that it is not in your hand all the way, how you want to act, how you want to simply work. It's not in your hand all the time. So I cannot say that I am the sum total of my own thoughts.
Okay, Mr. Nundi.
So, since you have stated that fact that in most of the times we have seen that people are there who are actually finding it quite difficult to manage with their professional items. Like, say, for example, if you are a very kind-hearted person, but you have been given a job which requires you to be a ruthless person, then you do not find it very much suitable. That's what you are saying. But don't you think that once you are habituated to doing certain things in a particular fashion for a longer stretch of time, don't you think that you get you get you become a professional in that, and say for example why I'm saying so. If you talk about an army man, okay, an army man may not be disciplined since his or her birth, right? Now, when an army man is spending 20 years or 30 years of his life with that disciplined that punctuality and with that disciplined schedule, then throughout the rest of his or her life you will see that the same discipline he tries to follow. Okay, so don't you think that once your thought process may be different, but if your action, if you are continuously if you are doing an action, then that actually changes you as a person.
Definitely, practice makes you perfect, or you can say that I have been doing that particular things and I'll be quite good at it. There's no doubt about it. But how can you just think in the very beginning? My thoughts is being means I have been imposed by someone else's thought, someone else's rule, someone else's guideline. I have been imposed on that particular thing. So that is what I'm just trying to draw home, that your thoughts doesn't make you up a sum total of your action.
But you are it is. So that's what I'm trying to. That's why I just put up this particular question forward. Put this question forward that if you are not that person, say for example, Ripam, before joining that particular profession was not a very disciplined person. Okay, you were absolutely haywire. Okay, your life was absolutely different. But after you joined this particular profession, now when you are at your 40s or your 50s, you are completely a different person. So your thought process was different when you were at your teens or your 20s, but after a certain period of time following a certain thought process, you have become a different person.
That is what initially I simply
So why
told
don't you support this point that my thought process or my thoughts are the subtotal of myself?
no. I also told you that the environment, your surrounding plays a pivotal role. How you want to be, I want to be shown in the society. That's what it is. If you join any army camp or any means if you in NCC, so you have to behave such a way that they want you to be.
So do you think a person who is not lily white, okay, say for example he was continuously following some activities which was not actually legal, some activities, say for example he was trying to take bribe and other activities as well, will that person be able to follow honesty in the rest throughout the rest of his life? When he will not be holding that particular position, he will be in a different place. Will that person follow honesty at all, ever?
Yes, definitely. That's why when you are in the Who's Go, there is a particular section called correctional home. Okay, there you get corrected. Okay, you might make mistakes in your life. It doesn't mean that throughout.
Not everybody will go through the correctional home process.
Definitely, sometimes not need to go to the correctional home.
If you're not
That
taught,
inner
if you're not taught,
This-
you are free.
that inner self. Okay, if you talk about the Samrat Ashoka, okay, the king of Ashoka, that is called king, means we do call it Samrat, that is King Ashoka. He had to leave fighting because inner self that he understood, there nobody punished him, nobody simply showed him the path. That is this. He inner self by what to say, by thinking or by realizing in a way.
That is an exception.
No, not exception.
Not everybody will be like
That is-
Ashok or and
You will get to see
and
their-
they will just come with this kind of thought process, and all of a sudden overnight you will fall
There,
on-
no overnight. No, it's not about overnight changes. That realizing factors plays a pivotal role in your life. If you talk about the monks, if you just talk about the monks, you'll get to see. If you just simply look back or simply look at their personal past lives, you get to see nobody was like that. Nobody was like that. Nobody was wanted to be a monk, but life led them that particular path. So that is why time changes person.
That's what I'm saying. That a monk was not a monk since his birth.
Yes.
His thought process was absolutely different. Now, when you are going through a particular process in your life cycle, now you are changing yourself. you were, I was Sandipan, but now I am a monk. I don't used to believe in those steps or what the monks used to do. Okay, but now after following a particular lifespan of my time, then I have started following suit. I have started following the monks. So don't you think that my thought process is also changing, and that is also reflecting what I am actually?
Yes, definitely. That is what I'm just trying to draw home. That yes, we have been doing such things. That after that, definitely the way of working, the way of talking to others, the way of action, definitely it will get changed. But
In that case, then you are the subtotal of your
No.
thought process. Then
I am not the subtotal of my own thoughts. I have not the
Saying
subtotal.
that influenced.
That is place.
influence, but your thought process is there. It has been changed, right? Now you are a monk.
Just talk
and
about-
your thought process
just-
will also be like a monk. It will not be.
You
like
you
a common
you, you
human
wanted to
being.
you want to say that my action is my means sum total of my thoughts. My action.
Obviously.
What about the
because thought
reflex
process is
action? They
changing.
talk about reflex action. He's not. He doesn't get the time to think. Just talk about that particular action, reflex action. It is not the sum total of your thoughts. So there are certain actions which doesn't depend on your thoughts. It doesn't depend on you as well. Your circumstances, your environment force you to do that, to behave in such a way that you don't want to be. That there are many people.
Along with you change your thought process is also getting changed.
Sorry.
Your thought process is also getting changed.
There-
Along with your change. That's what Sandy is trying
Yes,
to say.
we are
Then also you are simply becoming the sum total of your own thoughts.
not every means definitely my as I grow up, my thought person will get changed. The way I do see you or sees the society after 20 years, I will see in a different way. Definitely, but I'm already talking about means I am not the subtotal of my own thoughts all the time. There most of the time it is true that how do I behave, how do I act is quite depend on me, but not all the time. Just talk about the people, means the ultras. They have been brainwashed, like they have been fed such other things that they do not want to believe. But by believing that, or by the sake of money, we are doing that particular thing. By the sake of money, we are cheating, we are simply taking bribe, we are doing something wrong that doesn't show how we are. Sometimes we can talk about that particular person do not want.
Can a criminal seem like a saint?
Definitely not all the time.
Really?
Yes,
Really?
means while doing the crime, at that time he doesn't just because of.
Why doing the crime is not the question. The question is that can a criminal think like a saint?
Definitely a person changes.
Because your changes after a person is, but say he is just conducting a criminal life. Along with that, when he's alone, he's thinking like a saint. Is it possible? Is it not like the story of Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde?
Just I do not know the story, but sometimes you get to see that decorating a rich man, or simply decorating a rich man, you are simply distributing the wealth to the poor people. What about that particular mentality? Means I want that decorating a rich man. It doesn't show you legally or illegally are doing something. That is not what is that is in the society. It is not a brave thing. But on the other hand, when you're simply distributing that particular wealth to the poor people, what about that particular work? It's a work like a saint. So it is not like right to say that a dacoit cannot think like a monk. This
Okay,
quite
now I would like to ask you to conclude your speech because we are running short.
that I have been telling you, or I'll be telling you rather, that yes, as people will say that we are how we are is quite up to us, that how we act. It is a sum total of our thoughts, definitely, but not all the time.
Okay.
That is I want to convey, that is I want to advocate that yes, sometimes by compulsion or on compulsion we have to do certain things. By someone else's advice we have to do certain things that we do not want to believe, that we do not think back of our mind, that should be bring the progress in someone's life. Just think about in anywhere how my boss wants me to do in my workplace. That is how I have to do. I have to act according to the situation. That is quite you know what to say. That is the Bible
Quite
truth.
inevitable.
Yes. How I act in the situation means how I have to act. I have to act according to the situation. That doesn't mean that I do convey or my thought process do that say so.
Okay.
That is what I simply say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Obira.